At the risk of stating the obvious, I gotta say I'm really disappointed in the quarterback play in Minnesota. They just can't get someone to be effective. Last week, Tavares Jackson. This week, Kelly Holcomb. Doesn't seem to matter. And I know they don't have good receivers, but somebody's got to step up and do something. Because this team can run the ball. You all know how much I like Adrian Peterson. And when he gets back, Chester Taylor. You know how good they can stop the run with those Williams brothers in the trenches, and you know how good they're getting at stopping the pass this season. So they have everything they need. They just need a passing game. And that's not coming together right now for one reason or another. And it led to the loss in Arrowhead 13-10 against the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday. And this was a game they had the opportunity to win. Adrian played well. The run defense played well. And the pass defense played well. Everything was clicking except the passing game. And receivers or quarterback, I don't care who it is, or maybe even the offensive line, which is supposed to be very good, but gave up 5 sacks. This team is a decent passing game away from 3-0 right now. Instead, they're 1-2 and looking up at the Lions and the Packers in the division. So maybe they should have pursued Byron Leftwich, but I still believe this team can be decent this year. And I have some faith in Tavares Jackson to at least be halfway decent. Not looking good right now, though. Rams over Bucks. The Rams were a sleeper pick this year for many people. Then Orlando Pace got hurt. It all kind of went to hell. Some people continue to hold out faith, and I wonder if they're going to keep doing that. After Tampa Bay pretty much dismantled them, their offense was inept. Bulger was terrible. Steven Jackson played pretty well. His best game of the season easily so far, but he could not find the end zone. The same goes for all the players on the Rams offense. We all know their defense wasn't supposed to be any good, and it isn't. They gave up 2 rushing touchdowns to a backup running back, Ernest Graham. They pretty much let him tear them apart. So I never would have thought the Rams would miss Orlando Pace that much, but they did use a number 1 overall pick on him, and I think maybe just now we're beginning to understand why. Steelers beat the 49ers, kind of a blowout, 37-16. I got to watch this game. 49ers offense is still inept. Alex Smith playing poorly. Frank Gore kind of struggling. The receivers not playing well. I mean, that one call in the red zone on Vernon Davis where that was an incomplete pass. I don't understand how that can be an incomplete pass. I could see it being just about anything else, an interception or a catch. But an incompletion? I don't get it, but in the end, I don't think it mattered too much. This game was a blowout. The San Francisco defense played fairly well for most of the game, so it's got to come back to this offense. They got to figure out how to get something going. And what I'm doing here is actually checking the time, since I don't have a bigger timer. The Eagles over the Lions, big game for the Eagles. Huge game for McNabb, who came out looking mad. Throwing it to Curtis, giving it to Brian Westbrook. Big games all around for the Eagles offense. And defensively, they picked up 8 sacks, got a couple of turnovers. They gave up a handful of big plays, but by the time they did, I'm pretty sure that the game was pretty much out of reach. So, good job, Philly. First win of the year. Maybe you're getting back on track now, because I do believe in this team. I think it's a good team. They just needed to get the rust off, I guess. As for Detroit, maybe they're not ready yet. I've been saying this for a while now. I think that's the worst secondary in all of football, and their defense as a whole isn't very good. So maybe they're just not ready to be a playoff team, but they do have a great offense. Even after what happened on Sunday, they still had some big plays from John Kitna, 446 yards. That's a record of some sort, I think, at least for him personally. Roy Williams, 200 receiving yards. They got Kevin Jones back. Maybe now they can run the ball. This is a really, really good offense. I really like what I see out of it. The Colts beat the Texans 30-24. Pedestrian numbers from Manning. He kind of let a die take over at the goal line. Really a pretty pedestrian day from the Indianapolis offense as a whole. They kicked a lot of field goals instead of, getting the touchdown. Kind of disappointing for them, I'm sure. Texans played valiantly, but the loss of Andre Johnson, and in that game they also lost Amon Green, was crippling to them. And in spite of a special team touchdown that gave them a 7-point head start, they weren't able to come away with this victory. I give props to the Texans. They're playing tough this year, and they're going to be tough games for just about anyone that plays them. But, with their two big playmakers on offense out, I don't know what they're going to do now. Let's see. Packers beat the Chargers, and this was a great game because Favre tied that record. He played really well. Had the game-winning touchdown pass. Well, actually, as it turned out to be, a critical touchdown pass. And the Packers won the upset at Lambeau Field. I believe San Diego was still the favorite. I took Green Bay, kind of a gamble on my part, and it paid off big time. Great play by the Packers. Their defense shut down LT, was able to force a key turnover, and pick up a couple of sacks. The offense was absolutely clicking. Favre playing big time. No running game still, and that worries me. But for now, this is a team that's able to win in spite of that by succeeding in other aspects of the game. So it's time to take Green Bay for real. And at the moment, the NFC North is theirs for the taking. All they have to do is keep winning. As for the Chargers, I don't know what's wrong. I honestly think it comes back to A.J. Smith for firing Marty Schottenheimer and bringing in Norv Turner. I don't like Turner at all, and what I've seen out of him so far really just confirms that in my mind. He's not a good head coach. He's an offensive coordinator that was, lucky enough to be very good as an offensive coordinator, but nothing else. If I'm A.J. Smith, I promote Ron Rivera to head coach, get rid of Norv Turner, and see what you got, because this is an extremely talented team, and I don't think they're going to go anywhere with Mr. Norv Turner at the helm. New England lays into Buffalo. I don't care about New England. I don't really dislike them, but I love how Randy Moss is tearing things up. 5 catches, 115, and 2 touchdowns. Tom Brady continues his MVP-like season. He's completed about 80% of his throws, 10 touchdowns, a pick. Just a really, really good season for him so far, of course. I love these things. Good play all around by New England. They ran the ball well, spread the ball around to all their different receivers. Scored 38 points for the 3rd week in a row. That's actually kind of funny when you think about it, isn't it? I give props to Buffalo, though. They played tough at the beginning, and for a while there I thought they might be able to make this competitive. They lost it at the end, of course, but good job by them. Lossman got hurt early. Trent Edwards came in and played valiantly, in my opinion, for a 3rd-round rookie. Ultimately, he came well short of getting the job done, but he managed the game reasonably well. Marshawn Lynch looked pretty solid. I'm starting to like him more and more. I didn't like him very much coming out of college, but he's impressing me. That Buffalo defense now looks like it'll be missing Paul Posluszny, a guy that I was in love with coming out of college. And I thought he was going to win Defensive Player of the Year, but I guess it might now be Patrick Willis from in San Francisco. So rough loss for Buffalo, and where the hell is Lee Evans? Did someone forget to wake Lee Evans up? Come on now. I drafted him in one of my fantasy leagues. I need a little more out of him. Jets beat the Dolphins in a shootout. Dolphins nearly led a big comeback on the shoulders of Ronnie Brown. 31-28 Jets. The Dolphins could not recover the onside kick at the very end. Jets get their first win. Pennington plays heroically. 2 touchdowns and ran for another. Thomas Jones finally does something worthwhile. And the Jets defense got their first sack of the season. So let's give a hand to the Jets. Nice try by the Dolphins. Ultimately, it was too little too late. But I got to give credit where credit is due. They played tough. And Ronnie Brown, a guy that many people are already labeling a bust, he did a good job. He just couldn't quite compete up with the Jets. Oh, and by the way, nice return touchdown by Leon Washington. There were a lot of return touchdowns in the NFL yesterday. He had one of them, replacing Justin Miller, so good for him. Baltimore over Arizona, 26-23. In my opinion, it's kind of embarrassing for the Baltimore defense to give up 23 points to the Cardinals, especially after Matt Leinart gets benched out of suckitude, and then Kurt Warner comes in and absolutely has a field day. Embarrassing, in my opinion, to be unable to force turnovers, only generate 1 sack, and nearly lose this game. It came down to basically the special teams of the Ravens with that last-second punt kick field goal by one of my favorite players in the league, Matt Stover, and that punt return